The conference room fell silent as Mr. Henderson announced the promotion. I sat frozen in my chair, unable to believe what I was hearing. It gives me great pleasure to announce that Jessica Williams will be our new Director of Innovation, effective immediately. Applause filled the room. I clapped mechanically, my hands moving on autopilot while my brain struggled to process this information. Jessica stood up, smiling widely, accepting congratulations from everyone around her. Director of Innovation. The position I'd been working toward for 3 years. The position I'd earned through countless late nights, groundbreaking projects, and innovative solutions that had saved our company millions. Jessica walked to the front of the room to give her acceptance speech. Thank you all so much. I'm honored by this opportunity. My vision has always been to push this company forward through creative solutions and bold leadership. Her vision? I felt sick. Every word coming out of her mouth described work I had done. The customer retention program that increased our client base by 42%? Mine. The digital transformation initiative that streamlined our operations? Mine. The partnership strategy that opened 3 new markets? Mine. And she was standing there, taking credit for all of it, talking about her vision and leadership like she'd done anything besides show up to meetings and nod along. After the meeting, I went straight to my desk, trying to process what had just happened. I'd been with TechVision Solutions for 5 years, starting as a junior analyst and working my way up to senior strategist. Jessica had joined 2 years ago as a mid-level coordinator. She was friendly, agreeable, and completely unremarkable in her contributions. But somehow, she'd just been promoted above me. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend at work. Daniel, are you okay? That should have been you. I didn't respond. What could I say? That I'd spent the last 3 years creating innovative programs while Jessica coasted on my ideas? That I'd documented everything, presented everything, only to watch someone else get rewarded? My boss, Mr. Henderson, stopped by my desk around 3 p.m. Sarah, could I see you in my office? My heart jumped. Maybe he was going to explain. Maybe there was some mistake. In his office, he smiled warmly. I wanted to personally thank you for your incredible team spirit. The way you've supported Jessica's development has been exemplary. Your willingness to share knowledge and mentor others shows real leadership potential. I stared at him, speechless. Supported Jessica's development? Mentored her? I'd been doing my job while she observed and apparently learned enough to steal credit for everything. Thank you, I managed to say. Keep up the excellent work. Your time will come. But it was supposed to be now. This was supposed to be my time. The next morning, Jessica appeared at my desk with a coffee and a bright smile. Sarah, hi. Do you have a few minutes? I'd love to chat in my new office. Her new office. The corner office with windows overlooking the city. The office I'd imagined would be mine. Sure, I said, following her. The office was already being set up with her belongings. Photos of her at company events, a plant, her favorite books on leadership that I'd never seen her read. She sat behind the massive desk and gestured for me to sit across from her. Sarah, I wanted to talk to you about something important. This promotion happened so fast, and honestly, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. She laughed nervously. I was hoping you could help me transition into this role. Train me on the projects and strategies that will be under my supervision now. My jaw literally dropped. She wanted me to train her for the job she'd just stolen from me using my own ideas? I know it's a lot to ask, she continued, misreading my shocked silence. But you're so knowledgeable about all these initiatives. It would really help me hit the ground running. Part of me wanted to say no, to tell her exactly what I thought about her promotion and her audacity. But another part, the professional part that had gotten me this far, knew that refusing would only make me look petty. Of course, I heard myself say, I'd be happy to help. The training sessions started the next day. I sat in Jessica's new office, walking her through projects I'd developed from scratch. She took notes furiously, asking questions that revealed just how little she actually understood about the work she'd taken credit for. So, the customer retention program, she said, reviewing her notes. Walk me through the core strategy again? I explained, for the 3rd time, how I'd analyzed customer data, identified pain points, and developed targeted interventions. The program I'd spent 6 months creating, she was trying to understand in a 1-hour session. "This is brilliant," she said, as if discovering it for the first time. "You're so good at explaining complex concepts." The irony wasn't lost on me. Later that afternoon, Mr. Henderson stopped by my desk. "Sarah, I heard you're helping Jessica get up to speed. That's exactly the kind of team player attitude we value here. Keep it up." I smiled and nodded, even as something twisted inside my chest. I was being praised for training the person who'd stolen my promotion. That evening, Daniel found me still at my desk at 7 p.m. "Sarah, you don't have to do this. Tell Henderson the truth about who really created those programs." "And say what? That Jessica lied?" "I have no proof she deliberately misled anyone. For all I know, management just assumed the work was hers. Because she let them assume it. That's still lying." He was right, but what could I do? Over the next 2 weeks, an uneasy pattern developed. I'd spend my mornings training Jessica, then my afternoons doing my actual job. The frustration built slowly, like pressure in a bottle. One afternoon, I overheard a conversation in the break room. 2 executives were talking about Jessica's promotion. "Henderson pushed hard for Williams," one said. "She's got that executive presence, you know? Confident, articulate. Plus, her father used to work with Henderson years ago." My stomach dropped. Office politics. Jessica's promotion wasn't about merit at all. It was about connections and appearance. That same day, Jessica completely fumbled a presentation to senior management. She was supposed to present the quarterly innovation report showcasing our recent successes. But she couldn't answer basic questions about the programs. She stumbled, contradicted herself, and finally deferred several questions, saying she'd follow up later. I watched from the back of the room, torn between satisfaction at seeing her struggle and embarrassment for our department. After the presentation, Mr. Henderson looked concerned. He pulled Jessica aside for what appeared to be a serious conversation. Maybe, finally, people were starting to notice. But then Jessica called me into her office. "That presentation didn't go as planned. I need you to prepare better briefing materials for next time. More detailed explanations of the technical aspects." She was blaming me for her incompetence. Despite everything, I threw myself into a new project that had potential to revolutionize our client onboarding process. I'd been developing it quietly for months, and now it was ready for implementation. The system would cut onboarding time by 60% while improving client satisfaction. It was brilliant if I said so myself. I presented the concept to my immediate team first, getting enthusiastic support. Then I scheduled a meeting with Mr. Henderson and the senior management team to propose official implementation. The day before my presentation, Jessica stopped by my desk. "I heard you're presenting tomorrow. What's it about?" I explained the onboarding system concept. Her eyes lit up. "That sounds amazing. Can you send me your presentation slides? I'd love to review them, give you some feedback as your director." Something in my gut screamed warning, but I sent them anyway. The next morning, I arrived to find the meeting had been rescheduled. Jessica needed to present some urgent innovations to the board, Henderson's assistant explained. "Your meeting will be next week." Suspicious, I checked my email. There was a company-wide announcement. Director of Innovation Jessica Williams presents groundbreaking client onboarding solution. She'd taken my project. Again, I found her in the hallway, holding printed copies of my presentation with her name on it. "Jessica, what are you doing?" "Oh, Sarah. The board had an unexpected opening, and I thought this was too good to wait. Don't worry, I'll make sure to mention your contribution as part of my team." Her team. My project. Her credit. I sat through Jessica's presentation feeling numb. She delivered it smoothly, having practiced with my materials. The board loved it. They approved immediate implementation with a significant budget allocation. After the meeting, several board members congratulated Jessica personally. "This is exactly the kind of forward-thinking leadership we need," one said. Jessica soaked it up, smiling and thanking them graciously. Not once did she mention my name. Mr. Henderson caught me afterward. "Sarah, great work supporting Jessica on this initiative. It's wonderful seeing the team come together." Actually, Mr. Henderson, I developed that entire system. Jessica presented it, but the concept, research, and implementation plan were all mine. His expression shifted, uncomfortable. Well, Jessica is your director. It's natural for her to present departmental initiatives. I'm sure she appreciates your contributions. He walked away before I could respond. That afternoon, I discovered a major flaw in Jessica's understanding of my onboarding system. She'd made promises to the board about features that weren't actually possible with our current technology infrastructure. When the implementation team flagged the issue, Jessica called me into her office. Sarah, we have a problem. The tech team says some of the features I presented aren't feasible. Because they're not. Not without a complete infrastructure overhaul that would cost 3 times our budget. Why didn't you tell me that before I presented? Because you presented my project without telling me. I would have explained the limitations if you'd actually involved me in the process. She looked frustrated, like I was being difficult instead of stating facts. The infrastructure problem escalated quickly. Jessica had promised the board a 6-week implementation timeline. The actual timeline, done properly, was at least 4 months. I knew this because I'd been planning it carefully before she hijacked the project. Upper management was not pleased when they learned about the discrepancy. Jessica was called into a meeting with Henderson and the CFO. I wasn't invited, but Daniel was in the adjacent conference room and heard everything. She tried to blame the tech team, he told me later. Said they gave her inaccurate information. But the CFO asked why she'd present something without verifying the technical requirements first. She didn't have a good answer. For the first time, Jessica's performance was being questioned. That evening, she stopped by my desk as I was packing up. Sarah, I need your help. Can you put together a revised implementation plan? Something that shows we can still deliver significant results, even if it takes longer. I looked at her carefully. Why should I help you fix a problem you created by stealing my work? She flinched. I didn't steal anything. I presented a departmental initiative. That I created. That I researched. That I spent months developing. You took my presentation and put your name on it. I'm the director of innovation. Department work falls under my authority. Taking credit for other people's ideas isn't leadership, Jessica. It's theft. She stood there, silent for a moment. Then her expression hardened. Fine. If you won't help, I'll figure it out myself. She walked away, and I felt a small sense of victory. But I also felt scared. Had I just made a powerful enemy? The next week was tense. Jessica was clearly struggling with the onboarding project, but she'd stopped asking me for help. She tried to fumble through it alone, making several decisions that I knew would cause problems down the line. I watched it unfold with mixed feelings. Part of me wanted her to fail, wanted everyone to see she wasn't qualified for this position. But another part felt guilty for not stepping in to prevent disaster. You don't owe her anything, Daniel reminded me during lunch. She stole your promotion and your projects. Let her face the consequences. But it wasn't just about Jessica. The company would suffer if the project failed. Our clients would suffer. My colleagues who'd worked hard on various aspects would suffer. During a team meeting, Jessica tried to undermine me in front of everyone. Some team members have been resistant to the new leadership structure, she said, her eyes landing on me. Change is difficult, but we need everyone to be team players. The implication was clear. I was the problem, not her incompetence. Several colleagues glanced at me sympathetically. They knew what was happening. After the meeting, 3 different people stopped by my desk. We know you created most of the project she's taking credit for, one said quietly. It's not fair. Their support helped, but it didn't change my situation. That evening, I found an anonymous note in my inbox. Just one line. The truth will come out. Who sent it? How did they know what was happening? The anonymous message haunted me for days. Someone was watching this situation unfold, someone who believed justice would eventually prevail. But when? How? Meanwhile, I started building stronger relationships with colleagues I'd previously only worked with casually. Marcus from finance, who'd noticed discrepancies in how Jessica reported project costs. Alicia from operations, who'd questioned Jessica's understanding of implementation processes. David from the tech team, who'd caught Jessica giving incorrect information in a meeting. These people saw what I saw. They knew Jessica was in over her head. But none of us knew what to do about it. Then something shifted. I was working late one evening, documenting my contributions to various projects just to have a record for myself, when I overheard a conversation. Mr. Henderson and the VP of Strategy were in Henderson's office with the door slightly ajar. Jessica's performance has been concerning, the VP said. The onboarding project is behind schedule, and she can't seem to answer basic questions about her own initiatives. She's new to the role. She needs time to adjust. Jonathan, she presented that project like she developed it herself. But when I asked her detailed questions, she couldn't answer. Someone else created that system. Sarah Chun, one of her team members. Very talented. Then why isn't Chin in the director position? Silence. Then Henderson spoke. Jessica has the right leadership qualities. Executive presence, confidence, communication skills. Technical expertise can be learned. But leadership without substance is just performance. I'm concerned we promoted image over impact. I held my breath, afraid to move and alert them to my presence. Were they finally seeing the truth? The next morning, I received a meeting request from the VP of Strategy. My heart raced as I accepted. Was this about what I'd overheard? The meeting was scheduled for the end of the week. In the meantime, I noticed increased attention on Jessica's work. Senior managers were asking her pointed questions in meetings. She was scrambling, trying to maintain the facade of competence. I also discovered something troubling. Jessica had been fabricating stories about her role in previous projects. She told executives that she'd led the development of the customer retention program, when in reality, she'd attended exactly 3 meetings and contributed nothing substantive. She'd claimed she'd pioneered the digital transformation initiative when she'd literally been assigned to a completely different project during that time period. I started documenting everything. Dates, meetings, email trails. If I was going to set the record straight, I needed evidence. My close friend at work, Maria, warned me to be careful. Going against a director, especially one with Henderson's support, could backfire badly. But she's lying. The company is being led by someone who doesn't actually know what she's doing. I know. I'm just saying be strategic. Don't make this about emotions. Make it about facts. She was right. When the VP meeting arrived, I went in prepared with documentation, but I let her lead the conversation. Sarah, tell me about the customer retention program. How did it develop? I walked her through the entire process. My initial analysis, my research, my strategy development, my implementation plan. I showed her emails, meeting notes, project timelines, all with my name on them as the lead. And Jessica's role in this project? She attended status meetings as a department coordinator. She provided no strategic input. The VP nodded, making notes. We went through 3 other major projects. The pattern was consistent. I'd done the work. Jessica had been peripheral at best. The VP of Strategy, whose name was Margaret Chen, asked me to attend a private meeting with her and 2 other senior executives. No agenda was provided, just a request for my presence. I arrived nervous, unsure what to expect. The meeting was in a small conference room I'd never been to before. Besides Margaret, there was the CFO and the head of human resources. Sarah, thank you for coming, Margaret began. We wanted to discuss the future direction of our innovation initiatives. We've been impressed with the projects launched over the past 2 years, and we want your input on where we should focus next. For the next hour, they asked detailed questions about various programs, implementation strategies, market opportunities. They asked about challenges, solutions, lessons learned. Everything I answered with specific knowledge and insight. Because I'd created these programs. After the meeting, I felt energized. Someone was finally recognizing my expertise. That evening, Jessica cornered me in the parking garage. I heard you had a meeting with senior executives. What was it about? Her tone was suspicious, almost accusatory. They wanted input on future innovation strategies. Why didn't they include me? I'm the director of innovation. I don't know, Jessica. Maybe they wanted a different perspective. She studied my face. Sarah, I need you to be loyal to this department.
To me.
That means keeping me informed about conversations with senior leadership. I work for the company, not for you personally. Her expression turned cold. Be careful, Sarah. I have the power to make your work life very difficult. Was that a threat? After she left, I sat in my car for a long time, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake by being honest with senior leadership. Despite Jessica's warning, the training sessions continued. But now they felt different, charged with unspoken tension. Jessica no longer asked questions. She gave orders. I need you to prepare the quarterly innovation report. Make sure it highlights my leadership, not our team's accomplishments.
Her leadership.
I need you to create a presentation for the board. Focus on vision and strategy, not technical details. Because she couldn't speak to technical details. I need you to handle the implementation problems with the onboarding system. Make it work. The system she'd promised without understanding. During this time, another incident occurred. I'd spent 3 weeks developing a proposal for a company-wide efficiency initiative. I'd researched best practices, analyzed our current processes, and created a comprehensive implementation roadmap. I'd scheduled a meeting with Mr. Henderson to present it. The morning of the meeting, I received a cancellation notice. Director Williams will present departmental proposals going forward. An hour later, I watched Jessica present my efficiency initiative to the leadership team. She used my slides, my research, my analysis. She stumbled on several points, couldn't answer detailed questions, and ultimately the proposal was tabled for further development. Henderson stopped by my desk afterward. Sarah, the efficiency proposal needs more work. Jessica said, you were the primary researcher.
Can you revise it?
I wanted to scream. Jessica had butchered my presentation, and now I was being asked to fix her mistakes. Of course, I said through gritted teeth. That evening, Daniel found me at my desk at 9 p.m., still working. Sarah, this has to stop. She's taking advantage of you. I finally confronted Jessica directly. I scheduled a private meeting in her office and came prepared with documentation. Jessica, we need to talk about credit attribution. Over the past 3 months, you've presented 4 major projects as your own work, but I developed all of them. She leaned back in her chair, unruffled. Sarah, as Director of Innovation, my role is to oversee and present departmental work. That's how hierarchy works. There's a difference between presenting departmental work and claiming personal credit for specific initiatives. You've told executives that you pioneered and led development of projects you weren't involved in creating. I think you're being overly sensitive about semantics. It's not semantics. It's taking credit for work you didn't do. Her expression hardened. Let me be clear. I'm your superior. I determine what projects move forward, how they're presented, and who gets credit. If you have a problem with that, maybe you should consider whether this company is the right fit for you. The threat was explicit. Accept the situation or leave. I walked out of her office shaking with anger and frustration. But something had shifted. I was done being silent. That afternoon, I received an unexpected call. Margaret Chin wanted to see me again. Sarah, I've been reviewing project files, and I have some questions. We met in her office. She pulled up documentation for the customer retention program. According to these files, you were the lead strategist on this project. But in several presentations, Jessica Williams has described herself as the program pioneer. Can you clarify? I could choose to be diplomatic, or I could tell the truth. I created that program from start to finish. Jessica attended status meetings, but contributed nothing to its development. She's been taking credit for my work. Margaret nodded slowly. I suspected as much. Thank you for your honesty. Over the next 2 weeks, I threw myself into developing a new project that couldn't be stolen or misrepresented. It was something I'd been thinking about for months, a comprehensive client feedback system that would revolutionize how we gathered and responded to customer insights. I worked on it during evenings and weekends, keeping it completely under the radar. No presentations to Jessica. No shared files. No team discussions. Just me, developing something brilliant in secret. The system would integrate multiple data sources, use AI to identify patterns, and provide real-time recommendations for improving client relationships. It was innovative, practical, and potentially game-changing for our industry. When it was ready, I didn't go to Jessica. I scheduled a meeting directly with Margaret Chin and presented the concept. Margaret was impressed. This is exactly the kind of forward-thinking work we need. How far along is the development? I have a working prototype. With proper resources and a dedicated team, we could launch in 4 months. Who else knows about this?
No one.
I wanted to ensure the concept was solid before sharing it. She smiled slightly. Smart. Let me discuss this with the executive committee. Don't mention it to anyone yet. 3 days later, I received a meeting invitation from the executive committee. The same committee that had recently questioned Jessica's performance. This was either my big break or the end of my career at TechVision. The presentation went better than I could have imagined. I demonstrated the prototype, walked through implementation plans, and answered every technical question confidently. Because I actually understood what I'd built. The CEO himself asked the final question. Sarah, what would you need to make this happen? A dedicated team, a 4-month timeline, and autonomy to execute the vision without interference. Done. The approval to lead the client feedback system project came with something unexpected. We'd like you to report directly to me for this initiative, Margaret Chin explained. Independent of the innovation department structure. I was being pulled out from under Jessica's authority. The announcement was made company-wide 2 days later. Sarah Chun will lead the development of our new Client Insight initiative, reporting directly to the VP of Strategy. Jessica's reaction was immediate. She stormed into the small project office I'd been assigned. What is this? You went around me to upper management. I developed a proposal and presented it. They approved it. You're supposed to run departmental projects through me. This isn't a departmental project. It's a company-wide strategic initiative. That's why it reports to the VP of Strategy. Her face flushed with anger. You're deliberately undermining my authority.
No, Jessica. I'm doing my job.
Finally getting recognition for doing my job. She left without another word. But I knew this wasn't over. Over the next month, something interesting happened. As I worked on my project with increasing visibility, Jessica's deficiencies became more apparent. She couldn't answer questions about the programs she'd claimed to create. She made strategic errors that my colleagues had to correct. She missed deadlines and blamed her team. Word was spreading. The golden image she'd built was tarnishing. Meanwhile, upper management was watching. I knew because Margaret Chin mentioned it during one of our check-ins. The executive team has been paying close attention to both you and Jessica. Your performance speaks volumes. I didn't ask what she meant. I just kept working. The unraveling happened faster than I expected. Jessica made a critical error during a board presentation. She was supposed to present the quarterly innovation report but got basic facts wrong about our programs. Implementation costs, timeline projections, client satisfaction metrics. She either didn't know the real numbers or hadn't bothered to verify them. The CFO stopped her mid-presentation. Jessica, these numbers don't match what's in our financial reports. What's the source of your data? She fumbled, clearly caught off guard. My team prepared these materials. I'll need to verify the sources. You're presenting to the board without verifying your own data? The tension in the room was thick. After the meeting, Jessica blamed her assistant and 2 junior team members. But the damage was done. The next day, I received an unexpected offer. Mr. Henderson called me into his office, along with Margaret Chin and the head of HR. Sarah, we'd like to offer you a promotion. Director of Strategic Innovation, reporting directly to the executive committee. You'd be leading a new team focused on high-impact initiatives. My breath caught. What about Jessica? Jessica Williams will be transitioning to a different role within the company, one that better suits her skill set. They were removing her from leadership. We've realized we made an error in judgment. Jessica has strengths in coordination and communication, but she lacks the strategic vision and technical expertise required for the director position. Those qualities, we've observed, are where you excel. Margaret added, we've been watching this situation for several months. The executive committee wanted to be certain about who truly drives innovation in this company before making changes. You knew all along?
I asked.
We suspected, but we needed to see how both of you performed under scrutiny. Your work on the client feedback system, done independently and excellently, confirmed what we'd been observing. They'd been testing us. Both of us. The promotion came with everything I'd worked for. A corner office, a significant salary increase, autonomy over innovation strategy, and most importantly, recognition for my actual contributions. But I felt strange about it. Not triumphant, exactly. More like validated but exhausted. The day I moved into my new office, Jessica stopped by. She looked different. Smaller, somehow. Less confident. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. "Of course. Come in." She sat across from my desk, in the same position where I'd sat when she asked me to train her. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. "I wanted to apologize," she began. "For everything. Taking credit for your work, undermining you, treating you like you were beneath me when you were actually running circles around me." I waited, saying nothing. I got promoted because of my father's connection to Henderson. I knew I wasn't qualified, but I wanted it anyway. I thought I could fake it until I figured it out. Instead, I just kept stealing your work because it was easier than admitting I was in over my head. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I'm being demoted to a coordinator position in a different department. My career here is essentially over. And I realized that you could have destroyed me much earlier if you'd wanted to. You had documentation, evidence, witnesses. But you didn't go to management. You just kept doing excellent work until they noticed." She was right. I could have exposed her from the beginning. I didn't want to destroy you, Jessica. I just wanted credit for my own work, recognition for what I'd actually accomplished. Well, you got it. And you deserve it. I'm sorry I stood in your way. She left, and I felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction at her downfall, but sadness at how it all could have been different if she'd just been honest. The revelation from Margaret Chen about the executive committee's long-term observation changed my perspective on everything. They'd known Jessica was taking credit for work she hadn't done. They'd seen her incompetence. But instead of acting immediately, they'd watched to see how I would respond. "We needed to know what kind of leader you'd be under adversity," Margaret explained during one of our meetings. "Anyone can perform well when things are easy. We wanted to see your character when things were unjust." So, my promotion wasn't just about my work. It was about how I handled being overlooked.
Exactly. You could have quit. You could have caused drama.
You could have undermined Jessica the way she undermined you. Instead, you kept producing excellent work, maintained professionalism, and ultimately proved your value through results rather than politics. It was a strange kind of indication. The suffering hadn't been meaningless. It had been a test I'd passed without even knowing I was being tested. My new role came with big responsibilities. I was tasked with rebuilding the innovation department's reputation and processes. My first decision was to implement a clear attribution system for projects. Every initiative would have documented contributors, with specific roles and contributions recorded. No more ambiguity about who created what. My second decision was about Jessica. Henderson wanted to let her go completely, but I advocated for keeping her in a coordinator role. She has skills in project coordination and communication. She just shouldn't be in strategic leadership. They listened to me. Jessica stayed, in a much more appropriate role. I earned both respect and criticism for that choice. Some people thought I was too soft. But I wasn't interested in revenge. I was interested in building something better. My first month as Director of Strategic Innovation was transformative. I assembled a team of talented people who'd been overlooked in the previous structure. Marcus from Finance became my strategic advisor. Alicia from Operations led implementation. David from Tech headed our development team. We launched the client feedback system to incredible success. Client satisfaction scores jumped 23% in the first quarter. The system identified opportunities we'd been missing and problems we hadn't known existed. Trade publications wrote about our innovative approach. I was invited to speak at industry conferences. TechVision's reputation for innovation, which had been faltering under Jessica's leadership, was being rebuilt. But the personal journey was equally important. I spent time reflecting on what I'd learned about patience, integrity, perseverance, about staying true to your values even when it would be easier to compromise, about trusting that quality work would eventually be recognized. One afternoon, Margaret Chen invited me to lunch. I wanted to tell you something I couldn't share before. When Henderson first proposed promoting Jessica, I objected. I'd been watching your work and I knew you were the right choice. But I was outvoted. What changed? I proposed a 3-month evaluation period. Let's watch both of them carefully, I said. Give them opportunities to prove themselves. Henderson agreed. Everything that happened afterward, the presentations, the projects, the challenges, those were deliberate tests. You orchestrated it? Not orchestrated.
Observed.
We gave both of you opportunities to show who you really were. Jessica showed she couldn't lead what she hadn't created. You showed you could create exceptional work even while training someone who'd taken your position. It was manipulation in a way, but it had led to the right outcome. 3 months into my new role, Jessica asked to meet for coffee. We sat in the cafe across from our office building, an awkward distance between us. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, she said. About how I got that promotion and how I lost it. I blamed you for a while. Thought you'd sabotaged me. I didn't sabotage you. You sabotaged yourself by pretending to be something you weren't. I know that now, and I'm actually grateful. She laughed bitterly. I was miserable as director. Terrified someone would figure out I didn't know what I was doing. Lying to cover gaps in my knowledge. It was exhausting. Why did you accept the promotion if you knew you weren't qualified? Because I thought wanting it was enough. I thought I could learn as I went. And I was arrogant enough to think my communication skills could cover for my lack of technical knowledge. She stirred her coffee slowly. In my new role as coordinator, I'm actually good at what I do. I'm organizing projects, managing schedules, coordinating teams. Work that plays to my actual strengths. I should have been honest about that from the beginning. What will you do now? Henderson offered me a path back if I want it. Go back to school, get my MBA, come back in a few years with real knowledge to back up my ambitions. I think I'll take it. We parted on better terms than I'd expected. Not friends, exactly, but no longer enemies. She'd learned something from her failure. And I'd learned something from watching her face consequences. Success built on lies eventually collapses. Success built on substance endures. Stepping into leadership taught me things I couldn't have learned any other way. My team looked to me not just for direction, but for culture. How I treated people, how I handled conflicts, how I gave credit, all of it set the tone. I made sure every team member's contributions were recognized publicly. I implemented transparent project attribution. I created mentorship opportunities for junior employees. I wanted to build the kind of department I'd wished I had worked in. The client feedback system continued exceeding expectations. We'd processed insights from over 10,000 clients, identified 15 major improvement opportunities, and increased retention by 32%. The CEO called it the most impactful initiative in the company's recent history. I was invited to present at the industry's premier conference. Standing on stage in front of 2,000 professionals, I shared our approach. But I also shared my story. A year ago, I watched someone get promoted using work I'd created. It was one of the most painful professional experiences of my life. But it taught me something crucial. External validation is nice, but internal certainty about your worth is essential. Keep doing excellent work. Document your contributions. Build relationships with people who see your value. Eventually, the right people will notice. The response was overwhelming. Dozens of people approached me afterward with their own stories of being overlooked, having ideas stolen, watching less qualified people advance. What you said about internal certainty really resonated. One woman told me, I've been waiting for someone else to recognize my worth instead of recognizing it myself. That conversation inspired my next initiative. 6 months into my director role, the executive committee made an announcement that surprised everyone, including me. We're creating a new C-suite position, Chief Innovation Officer. We're pleased to announce that Sarah Chen has been selected for this role.
C-suite.
Executive leadership. Reporting directly to the CEO. The promotion came with a stunning revelation. The chairman of the board pulled me aside after the announcement. Sarah, I need you to understand something. Your initial overlooking for the director position wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate strategy. My confusion must have shown on my face. We've been watching you for over a year. Your innovation, your work ethic, your character. We knew you had C-suite potential, but we needed to test it. How would you respond to injustice? Would you quit? Would you become bitter? Would you compromise your integrity? So Jessica's promotion was a test.
Partially.
Henderson genuinely supported her due to personal connections. But I insisted on the 3-month evaluation period specifically to see how you'd handle adversity. Leaders face setbacks. The question is whether those setbacks reveal character or destroy it. I felt a mix of emotions. Relief that my work had been recognized. Anger that I'd been put through that experience deliberately. Confusion about whether the manipulation had been justified. I understand your frustration, the chairman continued. But consider this. We're about to make you the youngest C-suite executive in this company's history. We're trusting you with strategic decisions that will shape our future. We needed absolute certainty about your character, your resilience, and your integrity under pressure. You provided that certainty. He was right, but it didn't make the past year's pain disappear entirely. That evening, I called my parents to share the news. My mother cried with pride. My father, always practical, asked the important question. Are you happy, Sarah? Not just successful, but actually happy. I thought about it carefully.
Yes.
I'm doing work I love, leading people I respect, and building something meaningful. I'm happy, and I was. The journey had been painful, but it had led me exactly where I needed to be. The transformation was complete. I stood in my new executive office, looking out at the city below, reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. From overlooked analyst to chief innovation officer. From watching someone steal my ideas to leading the entire innovation strategy for a major corporation. My first act as CIO was to establish a company-wide innovation recognition program. Every employee could submit project contributions, which would be reviewed and properly credited. No more ambiguity. No more stolen credit. Just transparent acknowledgement of who created what. The program was named the Integrity Initiative, and it became a model that other companies started copying. I also established a mentorship program for young employees, particularly women, who felt overlooked or undervalued. I'd been there. I knew how it felt to work hard and watch others take credit. If I could help even one person avoid that experience, the program would be worth it. Daniel, who'd supported me through everything, was promoted to lead one of my innovation teams. Remember when you were training Jessica, and I thought you were crazy for not quitting? He said during a celebration dinner. I remember you telling me she didn't deserve my help. I was wrong. Your grace under pressure is what got you here. If you'd responded with bitterness or revenge, management might have seen you as someone who couldn't handle adversity. He raised his glass. To integrity paying off. We clinked glasses, but I corrected him gently. Not paying off. Integrity isn't an investment that should expect returns. It's a commitment to who you are regardless of outcome. I'm grateful it worked out, but I'd like to think I'd have maintained my values even if it hadn't. I'm writing this from my office at TechVision Solutions, where I serve as Chief Innovation Officer. It's been 18 months since I watched Jessica get promoted using my ideas, then asked me to train her for the job I'd earned. That experience shaped me in ways I couldn't have anticipated. It taught me that success isn't just about talent or hard work, though both matter. It's about character, resilience, and staying true to your values when every circumstance tempts you to compromise them. It taught me that recognition delayed isn't recognition denied. Sometimes the right people need time to notice. Sometimes you need time to prove you can handle what you're asking for. It taught me that other people taking credit for your work says everything about them and nothing about you. Your value isn't determined by who acknowledges it. It taught me that grace in the face of injustice isn't weakness. It's strength. It's choosing dignity over bitterness, long-term integrity over short-term satisfaction. Most importantly, it taught me that the right opportunity will come when you're truly ready for it. If I'd been promoted to director a year ago, I wouldn't have been prepared for the challenges that eventually led to the CIO position. The adversity was preparation I didn't know I needed. Jessica reached out last month. She'd completed her MBA and was interviewing for positions at other companies. She asked if I'd be a reference. I said yes. Not because I'd forgotten what she did, but because I'd seen her grow from it. She'd acknowledged her mistakes, done the work to improve, and was approaching new opportunities with humility instead of entitlement. That growth deserves support. To anyone reading this who's watching someone else get credit for your work, who's training the person who took the position you earned, who's feeling overlooked and undervalued, I see you. I've been you. And I'm telling you it gets better. Keep doing excellent work. Document your contributions. Build relationships with people who recognize your value. Maintain your integrity even when it would be easier to compromise. Be patient, but not passive. Trust that quality eventually reveals itself. The recognition you deserve will come. Maybe not on your timeline, but it will come. And when it does, you'll be grateful you stayed true to yourself throughout the waiting. Your time is coming. Keep believing in your worth, keep producing excellent work, and keep being the kind of person who deserves the success they're building toward. The journey is longer than you want, but shorter than you fear. And the destination is worth every difficult step along the way. Share this story if you've ever felt overlooked. If you've ever had someone take credit for your work. If you've ever questioned whether integrity really matters in a world that seems to reward shortcuts. It does matter. You matter. Your work matters. And your time is coming.